Hello everyone, welcome to the Masterclass session for public speaking practice and interactive learning. I hope I'm audible to everybody and visible to everybody. I can see Dr. Manoj there, all the way from Allahabad joining us. Dr. Manoj, am I loud and clear? Hello Shipra, welcome to the Masterclass.
Hi Divya.
For everybody else to either type it in the chat window or share with us that everybody I've unmuted all of you.
Hi Divya, we lost your audio for 30 seconds.
Yes, am I audible now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
We can't see you, Pradeep.
I wanted to spare you all from seeing my pretty face.
Okay. Welcome, sir.
Here I am. Good morning.
Good morning. And, I'm just waiting, a thumbs up from my team to tell us that everybody who was supposed to be part of this session is in. We have around 13 participants plus 14th team talent who will be participating in the session today. And make this extremely invigorating, full of interactive learning. And public speaking for me is not just about a one-way communication speed. It is about learning from each other. As a public speaker, I always feel that I can learn from all the participants as well. That is always interesting. When we're sharing skills at today's workshop, I think it would be a good opportunity for learning. Let's give us another 2 minutes. We can have everybody here. Allow me to kind of. Am I audible? Am I clear and audible?
Your voice is breaking a little bit. We are not getting clear voice.
Okay, I'm going to come closer to my desktop. Is this better now, Dr. Manoj?
Yeah, now it's better.
So I'm going to just wait for my team to give me a go ahead before we begin. First, there.
So we'll be on mute when we're not speaking.
Yes. So I'll be setting the agenda for today. We are going to be all actually doing a quick recap from the last masterclass so that in terms of the speech flow influences, because that is the focus today, the intonation, diction, pronunciation, and how we can get that right. A quick recap on that, and then we will jump into some power speeches case studies. I'd like to share them, and it would be my first endeavor in such a format to share those audio clips, and we'll try and make sure that all of you can hear it. I also hope that all of you have kept that document handy that we had emailed. It was an unseen passage without any punctuation, so that we can all take turns to practice. And there's no better way than learning by experience and doing it yourself. So following the DIY model that is very famous today all over the world, that's what my intention is, that whatever we've learned in the past in terms of essentials of public speaking or critical aspects, we make sure that we put them to use today with some examples, learn from each other, because we have people from, joining us from Singapore also today. And all of you are stalwarts from your industry and senior people. So we'll build our network, we'll get to know each other, and we'll learn from each other's strengths as well as improvement areas. I particularly don't like to use the word weaknesses. I think when we do SWOT analysis in our mentoring sessions, we always request all our mentees to use the word improvement areas. We all have, areas where we can build our skill even more and be a better version of ourselves. And that is what the motto at the Advanced Learning Institute we are driven with. So we are going to help you upgrade your skills. And today's session is going to be extremely, encouraging, very enriching. And I'm just looking forward to knowing all of you. So we are almost there. We have mostly all the attendees. Okay. If you have any technical difficulties, please feel free to type it in the chat window. I can see that some of us are getting my voice with a little delay. I'll try and talk slower, pace down. And I'm absolutely comfortable repeating something if you've missed a certain point. Pradeep, am I audible? Dr. Manoj, if you can give me a nod, it will help me understand that I'm absolutely in sync. Okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Perfect. Hi, Meenal. How are you?
Hey, Divya. Hi. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for joining in all the way from Singapore.
Actually, I'm in Mumbai, though I live and work in Singapore, but the contagion has separated me from the city I work and live in and from my husband. So,
Okay. Well, and so then all the more reason I need to thank you for choosing to learn and invest your Sunday time with us.
thank you. Thank you. That's very sweet of you to say. I receive that in kindness. Thank you.
भाई मेरा अभी उससे जाके मेरा थ्रू हो रहा है.
Okay, I've just muted everybody. I'm sure everybody can hear me. So to all the participants, we could hear you. Why don't you all get comfortable, get your network connections all set. Perfect. Thank you, Meenal, for the validation that you can hear me. Let me try come closer to my desktop. Is it better now? Is my voice more audible? And I think the space of talking will help you get all the words without any breaks. If you guys can just type in that you all can hear me, great. That is wonderful. Perfect. Thank you, Sonia. Thank you, Divya. I think we have pretty much everybody here. Super. It's a perfect time for me to start this session. I'm going to unmute all of you. And I thought, what better way? Because a quick recap from what we did in the past session, and the same deck was shared with all of you as a learning material on the email as well. Now, one thing we need to understand that public speech is not just about being in an auditorium or as a moderator on a panel or a speaker. Public speaking is as much about handling Q&A. It is also about, connecting and doing small talk. Public speaking also is about making sure that, you speak clearly, confidently, and concisely, even when it comes to introducing yourself. Most of you are from the corporate or the business world, and it is actually quite a delight for me that today in our masterclass workshop we have senior people from across the industries. So we are also going to learn from each other, and this is the opportunity where I'd like to break the ice amongst all of us. Why don't all of us take a minute to put together an introduction? I put parameters here. Please share your name one by one. So you can, when we come to you one by one as a speaker, your name, years of experience, what industry you represent, And public speaking is important to you because. So just these 3-4 parameters, introduce yourself, everybody will get to know each other, and then, I can share some more key insights and we can deep dive into some case studies and some practice session today. Admitting our last 2 attendees. Fantastic. Welcome, Avni.
Really
Great.
sorry for the delay.
No problem.
Facing some technical problems.
Okay. So we're going to be starting here. For those of you who just joined and now we're going to, pick up a little bit of pace. I hope I'm audible and visible to everybody loud and clear. If there's any, please feel free to type in the chat and my team will take care of the technical difficulties. So can we request everybody to just mute themselves, and one by one, we will come to each one of you. I'm going to mute all of you. All right. Perfect. So one by one, as I was saying that we will come to you. Why don't you introduce yourself with your name, years of experience, industry you represent, and public speaking is important to you because. So if you want, just, put your mind together, and I'm always, very fond of volunteers. So who wants to go first? I don't want any one of you to feel on spot that I called out your name. So who would like to go first in introducing himself? Okay, great, Avnish. Let's start. If you can unmute yourself.
Hi, Divya and everybody. It's a pleasure to be there, to be here. I am Avnish Tripathi, dialing in from Gurgaon right now. I am a person with 19 years of work experience, predominantly in the consumer businesses, and largely from the sales and marketing background, but now moved on to business leadership roles. Public speaking for me is important at many levels. One, as an organizational leader, it's important to be able to communicate your points and connect with the larger organizations. And I have seen that you tend to operate either in the context of smaller, closely knit teams where you already have relations and connects, where it gets easier. But then when you are communicating to a wider audience, it does become very important to be able to communicate possibly simplistically, emphatically, and also leave the right impact. So that's what brings me here. And I look forward to the session.
Great. Thank you, Avnish. Thank you for a lovely introduction and taking, the first step. Everybody gets to know you better. So I will encourage everyone to, increase your network as well. We all are here with a good number of years of experience, and it will be my endeavor to take your skill to the next level. Next, who will be going next? Meena, would you like to introduce yourself?
Okay. All right. Hi, good morning. Lovely to be here. As I mentioned earlier, I operate between Singapore and Mumbai. Should I put the video on so that everybody gets a sense of, okay.
The video is on.
Okay. And and the reason that prompted me to do this, to join your program today, is something that I've been considering for a long time. I work in the space of marketing. I help individuals and professionals within corporates to position themselves outside of their business card. So really to create executive presence and executive gravitas. So I believe that since I do that and I represent that, I should be a role model to guide and to inspire my clients. The other thing, I also believe that an impression is made within what, less than 30 seconds or something. Divya, you should guide us on that parameter. That an impression takes really, it's produced really fast, and to lose that impact, to lose that impression takes, well, so many years of your hard work. So I just think that is very important as a business leader, especially today, when there is no geographical boundary, when the internet and technology has allowed us to cross borders. It becomes very, very imminent to position yourself, to project yourself in the right way, so that you meet either your business goals or your career aspirations. And that's what's driven me to be a part of this.
Excellent. Welcome, Meenal. And we certainly are very confident that in this journey, and the fact that you are open to learning even at the seniority level, will become a role model to many and inspire many as you go along your business life. So we hope that you will get a lot of insights from today's, and also the deck that you might have witnessed as a learning material that we had shared. That is going to be a key foundation to what we are going to be progressing further in terms of interactions and also our practices. Fantastic.
Thank you.
The next, Pradeep, would you like to go next?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me clearly?
Loud.
Yes.
Okay, so my name is Pradeep Manik. So I'm currently working for the Bank for International Settlements in Switzerland. However, just like Meenal, I'm in Mumbai right now in complete lockdown with my family. So I help multinationals to implementing ERP applications. So currently I'm helping the bank for implementing a procurement and a financial system based on Oracle. I think communication and public speaking is extremely important, because you, in today's corporate world, you have to be in a position to effectively communicate the ideas you have. You may be the most brilliant person, but if you don't have the skill set to communicate that and, put down the ideas on the table, then it's not going to help you. I think it's very important to, with the help of communication, to influence people, to motivate people to implement changes, and it's all done by effective public speaking. So I think it's integral to the success in today's world.
Thank you, Pradeep. It is very encouraging for me that you chose to spend your Sunday away from your family and devoted to this masterclass, just like everybody else. And it's wonderful that we have leaders joining us from Switzerland, from Singapore, and I'm just very happy. And one by one, we are going around to connect and break the ice. Dr. Manoj, would you like to introduce yourself next?
Yeah, why not? Good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Manoj from Allahabad. Now it's better known as a Prayagraj. And I graduated from Mangalore Dental College in 2001. And then I did my master's in healthcare management. That is executive MBA from IIM Calcutta. And now I'm working as a senior consultant in Dr. Staff's medical consultancy. So I'm looking to these things from so long period, because as you know, as a healthcare organization, and we have to deal with multiple people like patients, doctors, nurses, so many paramedics are there. So we have to collectivate them and.
Okay, there's some network glitch.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry, it was some connectivity problem. So finally, I have to organize my thought, and in my decisions, I have to be clear that I can convey the right message to people.
Dr. Manoj, I think there's some network issue at your end, but thank you so much for introducing yourself, and we can probably, come back to you. And a salute to you and all the healthcare workers, because you're doing a lot of great service to the community right now.
Yes.
Yes. So, as a doctor, you've taken this first step towards publishing, and you think it is important. I think the masterclass. Kindly mute yourself so that we can move on to another person, Mr. Vishal Seth. Would you like to just follow the parameter?
Yeah, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I'm Vishal Seth, working all along in steel industry. Currently, I'm heading the sales and marketing in Jindal Stainless Limited, and I'm stationed at Bombay. Public speaking is important because whenever you want to communicate, which is daily and every hour, whenever you want to understand something, so the skills and patience to have the public speaking in listening and in communicating is very important. So unless you cover your side of journey of speaking correctly and communicate in clear terms, only then you develop this ability to understand the voice, the body language, the modulation of the other person. So it's a whole circle of 360-degree, and hence it is very important to understand the nuances of public speaking for yourself as well as for listening and understanding. That is why I got interested in this particular course, so that we can dive a bit deeply into it and understand it. Thank you.
Thank you, Vishal, for making the time to be with us here. Vishal is also joining us from Bombay. And being such a senior person in manufacturing industry, because manufacturing industry has always been a traditional industry. And I would like to congratulate you that as a thought leader, you actually are making the choice and are also sharing the word that public speaking is equally an important skill, irrespective of what industry you're in. So till now, I think we all have been
Thank you.
with, somebody from banking, somebody from manufacturing, somebody from healthcare, and it's a wonderful session that I'm excited to move forward. We also have some more people here. They aren't really showing their video here, but I will request them to unmute them one by one. Yes, Mr. Naresh Gandhi, are you here? Could you unmute yourself and introduce yourself to the masterclass attendees?
Yeah, sure. Am I audible clear?
Your audio is coming with a little delay, Mr. Naresh Gandhi. So I request you to talk slower.
Okay. Happy morning, myself Naresh Gandhi from Pune. My experience in my industry is close to my heart, which is I am into financial planning. It's not by choice. It was a consequences part of my life. I am education wise I am qualified in telecom engineering, but some consequences in my life that was a burning point, but it was not an end. It was just a bend only, and that becomes my turning point. So last 18 years I am into financial planning. I started this career from the insurance industry. Then I realized the importance of other aspects of financial planning. Then I started dealing with all financial instruments. I qualified for the CFP, which is a US certification for the certification financial planning. And industry is close to my heart. So making difference and creating the financial well-being of my near and dear and to the unknown people also is my passion. And why the public speaking is important is not to impress, just to express myself so that the people will be able to take action, whatever they need to take action, not only creating the conveying the message is altogether different, but they should have the inclinations to do the action which is necessary for their betterment. Thank you. I'm from Pune.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Gandhi, for sharing your introduction with us. And we are delighted that you're a part of this. What is interesting for me to know is that all of you are having different takeaways by choosing to upgrade this skill. So I think two skills of the future are, of course, going to be technology. We all need to be technology pro. We all need to know how to do virtual meetings. Public speaking also includes the online world, and my endeavor of having all of you also connect by introducing yourself is so that we all what is the best way to introduce ourselves or begin a conversation online. So as you could observe that some of us needed to talk with a slower pace, some of us could talk faster. That is also a very big key, how we place ourselves in the center of the frame. What is the ratio of our body to the frame? That is important for us to kind of understand that this is an online format of public speaking. We are connecting to people beyond our industries and beyond our world. We have Uday next. Uday, you've already unmuted yourself. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, it's a very good morning to everyone, to every participants. I am Uday Nagpure, currently associated with the Cognizant Technologies. I have around experience of 12 plus years into technology, and public speaking is very much pivotal to me because now I'm entering into my second decade of my experience, wherein I wanted to opt for some of the leadership roles, some of the consulting roles, wherein public speaking plays a very, very much important aspects of growing into the career. So that's the reason public speaking is very much important to me. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you there. And you've touched upon a very important aspect of your corporate business growth. And all of us are coming from different industries, but from the business world. That in the first decade of our careers, technical education was of prime importance. And everybody wanted to know what you knew about your domain, what kind of a subject matter expertise you were. What happens in the second decade of your career, and in different industries, different organization, you have the mid-level management starting at different seniority level. But when you get to that stage of mid-level management or a team leader position and above, or a project manager, we need to understand that technical skills are a given. That's why we've been promoted to that position. And then, like you said, Uday, very, very well, that the way you present yourself, the way you inspire your teams becomes even more important as you go higher up the ladder and the pyramid is going narrower. So we have different decades of experiences here, different industries. And I think it'll be interesting to know how we can learn insights. And right now it's amazing that in introduction only we are sharing so many insights, and we can take these away for our speech, content, or for our extension of our thought process and perception. I'm going to now move on to the next participant here. Divya, would you like to introduce yourself?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Divya from Hyderabad, working as an HR professional in an IT industry. According to me, public speaking is important because it helps you to improve your knowledge, form connections, influence your decisions, and motivate the change. Also, the preparation that goes into a speech and the fact that you have to work out on how to communicate for others effectively make you understand your content so well. That's all. Thank you.
Very nicely said, Divya. I'm glad that you touched upon the fact that, it helps us influence people. So obviously, when we are commanding teams, rather than proving ourselves, it is important that we have that kind of command in our language, that just the way we say it is very emphatic, and it is influencing other people's decisions. That is one key takeaway of public speaking in a business world. And you being an HR professional, I'm very happy because I work with a lot of CHROs and HR professionals around the world and in India. Very few actually choose to learn. So congratulations to you. And thank you for joining with us all the way from Hyderabad. Wonderful. We have, unity and diversity here at the Masterclass session today. Let's move on to our next candidate. Colonel Anupam. Colonel Anupam, would you like to introduce yourself?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Divya ma'am.
Good morning.
I'm Colonel Anupam from Jaipur. I'm a veteran from Defense Forces, that is Army. In my 3 decades of illustrious military career, I realized and noticed that many of my seniors, peer group, and subordinates lacked the art of public speaking. Public speaking is not what someone is trying to tell it to the other person. It is exactly how the recipient of that message understands or what he concludes out of it. That shows that there must be in Army, as we say, A, B, C, accuracy, brevity, and clarity in your speech. And if these three things are followed, I think the recipient would understand in the same letter and word and spirit in which the message or instruction is originated. I am a keen learner of the subject. I want to be on the curve of learning the public speaking, and therefore I decided to join this masterclass map. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Colonel Sir, for sharing that with us. 3 decades of career, and yet you're open to learning. I think I learned, and everybody here right in the introduction has learned a key insight from you. And it's wonderful to have an acronym for it, ABC: accuracy, brevity, and clarity. And what is interesting is that maybe this is the rule that makes a lot of Army or Defense Forces veterans such as yourself very emphatic public speakers. I'm sure all of us will agree that it is Defense Forces who actually started propagating the whole idea of public speaking. Back in the day, it was the Indian military, Indian Army, because as a commanding officer, you are commanding and you're saying things to your men to inspire confidence, to influence their decisions, to also make sure that they follow orders. And that skill, I think, has been recognized by the Indian corporate world, across the world as well. And slowly that skill has been taken over into all other industries. As we have the lines blurring, thanks to digital disruption, we also realize that these skills which have been taken from one industry have become a part of everybody's way of life. So whether it is your professional upgrading of skill, whether it is for social upgrading of skill, I think this is very key to all of us. And I would be happy to build on that acronym ABC. So everybody should really note this down. I'm going to use it also. Thank you, Colonel Sir. Let's move on to our next participant. We have here Gaurav. Gaurav, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi. Hi, everyone. I'm audible.
Yes, loud and clear.
Hi, Divya ma'am. This side Gaurav. I am 12 plus years experience in quality industry. Right now, I'm in the automotive industry. Also, I'm a blogger and a numerologist. Whenever I want to speak out of my group, wider audience, or I can say in public, then I got blank. That's why I joined this public speaking masterclass. Thank you, everyone. That's me.
Fantastic. That is great. Gaurav, thank you for sharing your introduction, and congratulations. You're a very versatile leader where you're into so many professions. I'm sure some of us who believe in numerology will probably connect with you offline as well. And we hope to make sure that we get you to learn some insights, how to take away that fear of not going blank when you're faced with public. We are going to move on quickly to the next person. Ram is here, who has joined us. So Ram, would you like to unmute yourself and share your...
Hello. Hello. Are you able to hear me?
Can you keep...
One second, please.
Yes, just keep the microphone a little apart.
Yeah.
Very good.
It's fine now.
Yes.
Hello.
Keep the microphone a little away, another 2 inches away from you, please, if you can.
Yeah. Okay. I hope now it is better.
It is still a little muffled, but we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, good morning, everyone. My name is Ram Babu. Actually, I stay in Pune. In fact, I started my career as a civil engineer for around 6 years.
Sorry, I'm interrupting, Ram. You'll have to talk a little slower.
Okay, sure. So, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, good morning everyone. My name is Ram Babu. Uh, I live in Pune. Uh, Actually, I started my career as a civil engineer. Around 6 years, I was into.
Okay, I think Ram, you have muted yourself.
Hello?
Yes, now we can hear you. You had muted yourself.
No, actually, I got a call. Is it okay right now?
We can hear you now.
Okay. So, yeah, I have around 6 years civil engineering experience. Later, I moved to IT. Around since 18 years, I'm working in information technology. I'm into cloud security. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, we have come back to you, Ram. We could hear partially most of your introduction, and we will come back to you when we do practice. And we will also try if you can remove your headphone, because that might also be muffling your sound.
Yes, 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 thank you.
Sure. Thank you for introducing yourself. We have Sonia here. Sonia, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you, Divya ma'am and Team Tally for this wonderful opportunity. So my name is Sonia Das. I'm a senior digital marketing executive at the branch digital marketing agency with 2 years of experience. So be it personal or professional life, public speaking is important because it has an indispensable part to connect or communicate with the people with the right approach and to create an impact whomever we are communicating with. So being a digital marketing executive, I know the importance of that very well. So that's why I am here in this session. Thank you, Divya.
Okay, thank you, Sonia. It's wonderful that you're joining in from the digital marketing world. I think that is quite the future of today. And as we can see that people have suddenly found a lot of time sitting at home and sharing a lot of content online across social media and professional networks. So with digital marketing, I'm sure your industry has seen a lot of work coming your way, and therefore you need to interact with clients all the more very often.
Correct, ma'am. Correct.
Perfect. So now I'm going to request you all to mute yourselves. Interestingly, what's happened is that now we know each other. And if I've by chance left anybody, please do type it there in the chat window, and we'll take your introduction as well. I hope I've covered everyone in the masterclass session today. I'm going to now just move on to the slide. What we're going to do is do a quick recap of what are the important critical aspects of public speaking and deep dive into some interactive learning. I've also put together some power speeches that I would like to share as part of our learning, which all of us together will, analyze. Because when we have the foundation of a strong knowledge, then we will be able to also understand the other public speakers in the true light and with the finer nuances, as Mr. Seth advised. So 3 critical components, and this is a quick understanding. I call them the 3 V's. We all know that irrespective of where we are going to be as public speakers, whether it's your boardrooms, whether it is a client call, whether it is offline or online, in an auditorium, as a speaker, you invited on a panel, any of the scenarios, these 3 V's are always going to be very important. And we have to make sure as a speaker that we take care of our verbal, our vocal, and our visual component of public speaking. Quickly, verbal would be more of your vocabulary. Now, there are many times when people ask me that, listen, to be a good public speaker, I need good vocabulary. But I'd like to inform you all that while having a good vocabulary is great, it is a myth that as a public speaker, if you don't have a good vocabulary, you will not be a good public speaker. We need to understand that having the right impact created because of your speech flow and content with simple language is more important than having a complicated or a complex language or a complex sentence with difficult words that you cannot deliver with your conviction. We need to also understand that as a public speaker, when you are in the spotlight, when you enter the boardroom, when you enter the stage, when you enter a client call, right from the time that you have entered with your visual appeal, because we start talking just a second with a second delay. Our non-verbal communication, that is the visual communication, is actually a majority of a communication that is taking the lead as a public speaker. So if I were to, divide or give a certain, make a pie chart with a certain percentage component to all these three V's, to visual, I would give it a 58% component. 58%, my dear friends. To verbal, I would give it a 7% component only. That is, your vocabulary has an importance of 7% as a public speaker. As a visual component, that is how you look, how you walk, how you shake hands, how you talk, how you break the ice, what is your body language accompanying, what is your articulation. A lot of those components go into your kinesics, your proxemics, and also what kind of a body language you have. If you remember, we're going to be covering in the next slide as well that there is one rule: the more amplified your voice, the bigger the body language. Remember that always, because that is the key to a success to a speaker. Now, similarly, it is inversely proportional to also your pace of talk. So the third component I'm coming to is vocal. Now, when I say vocal, vocal is what we're going to be focusing today. And when I say vocal, vocal means aspects of your voice, which is tone, your pitch, your quality, your strength of voice, your throw of voice, the fillers that you're using, the punctuations that you use, the enunciations, the dictions, all of these aspects come in vocal. So the remaining percentage, if we are saying visual is 58%, verbal is 7%, the remaining percentage of the entire pie chart is going to the vocal aspect as a public speaker. We need to remember this always, because when you are preparing your public speaking opportunity content, you need to go in the order of priority of preparing this. So when you put the content together, you need to also make sure that your words that you're using are easy to understand by your viewer or audience on the other side, depending on the online, offline world where you're in, as well as the visual component. Now, if you can notice, I'm trying to lead by example here with the kind of a frame, because this is an online public speaking forum. I'm trying to keep myself centric. About 65% of my upper body torso is visible to you. I'm trying to do that. Always make sure that you remain in the ratio of 35% to 65% when it comes to your upper body torso, which is visible. And very important, as a public speaker, do your tests, do your checks. Remember to understand the acoustics. Remember to understand all the aspects which will make you sound and look good. This is what is going to make your public speaking opportunity a success. So with these three aspects, I'm going to move on to the next. Now, this is what we are covering today, my dear friends, and I will request you to pay focus and attention to these aspects. We covered them briefly in the last masterclass, but today we are going to understand not just in a way of communication or theory, but we're going to put these aspects to test. Each one of us has strengths. Each one of us, I'm going to call them improvement areas, not weaknesses. And I won't say that I am an expert, but I would say that in 2 decades of my just public speaking career, whatever I have learned, it is going to be my endeavor to share those insights with you so that you become a better speaker, a better version of yourself. First, speech flow influencer. Now, if we want to influence perception, if we want to be accurate with brevity and clarity, the acronym that we learned today from Colonel Sir, if we want to be clear, concise, we need to understand that our vocal strengths need to be highlighted. Sometimes we all have witnessed those speakers where the substance or the content of the speech or the talk session or the meeting wasn't really too much, but the way the person delivered it actually trumped everything else. So that's why I want you to understand that as leaders in your industries, you are here from across the country, across the world, and you understand that in your domain expertise, sometimes you're given a month to prepare, a week to prepare, a year to prepare, or maybe just 10 minutes to prepare, or maybe you're put on the spot. Now that is the opportunity that you need to take to differentiate yourselves and add that USP that you are not afraid to taking the opportunity. Key aspect, if we master these 4 areas, guess what? Even if our content on the spot, we have not been able to put together with the 100% accuracy, we can trump it by an effective delivery. And we all have seen those speakers who spoke absolute faff. I would say that there are many political leaders who don't talk a lot of content, westwards as well. I'm not taking any names here, but at the same time, the way they say it, the world wants to hear. It is their delivery that makes them stand apart from everybody else. So number 1 aspect is punctuation. Now, punctuation is something that we actually learned over the years. We've learned in our Renan Martin grammar. I remember my mother used to, be very strict about punctuations and grammar when I was very young. Punctuations in very simple layman languages are your commas and your semicolons and your exclamations. All those things are important. We do not pay attention to them, but they are important. Why? Because as a speaker, it helps you break your sentence, gives you an opportunity to breathe. Now, we all have seen those speakers who begin a sentence at a very high energy, but by the time they come to the end of the sentence, the words go low volume, the energy drops. Why does that happen? That happens because your lung capacity is not trained to hold that much of air to give you that consistent energy level while talking. So we need to understand, if you recollect, that in the past I've shared that your voice cords are like a guitar. They are backed by a cavity of the food pipe, which creates resonance. And that's why when we wake up in the morning, our voice is heavy. We sound much better after a sleep. But we need to understand that if we do not take those breaks, in most of the speeches that maybe our EAs and our PAs write, what happens that they do not pay attention to the punctuation. And punctuation is directly proportional, my dear friends, to the kind of air that you can hold in your lungs. Now, if you cannot hold too much air in your lungs, that's why swimmers, mountain hikers, people who do yoga, they have better air holding capacity in their lungs, which means that when they start a sentence, they can keep a good energy and breath control through the sentence towards the end. Now, my request to you is that increase your lung capacity. If you like how I'm talking, it is because over the years, I have made sure that my lung capacity of different, I would say like a sinusoidal curve, different rise and fall of my breath is imbibed into my habit. That's what makes me an emphatic public speaker. So when you put a comma, you know that you have to pause for just a second. When you put a full stop, you know that you have to pause for a little. Punctuation also helps us put expressions. Now, when I'm talking to all of you, if I'm changing my tonality, if I'm changing my entire expression, if I'm taking it to the rise and fall, that obviously means that I am using a lot of punctuation. So we need to understand the importance of punctuation, and we'll do it practically as well. So we'll get it absolutely right to what I'm saying. We'll be able to relate to it. Tone. Now, tone, a very easy way to remember, and I would like to share with you all of this because we've heard these words, but we've never deep dive into how we can understand the meanings of these words. So while punctuation is important for your breath control as well as your expressions to the speech, tone is a formula of PQS. Simple formula, you should learn it. P for power, Q for quality, and S for strength of voice that help you improve your tone. We've realized that, you know, we can say the same thing in two different formats, and the tone actually makes all the difference when we are talking to either our kids, our family, our spouses, our bosses, our teams, or for that matter, even our clients. So tone, PQS, how we can use it, how we can improve upon it, that is something we're going to cover today. Intonation. Intonation in layman terms is modulation of voice. Now, modulation of voice, for those of us who have learned science, you remember the crests and troughs, the sinusoidal curve or the AC current, all of this graph that we talk about is the rise and fall. Now, we need to understand that the rise and fall cannot be very periodic. We need to give variation there. So if you combine the rise and fall with the right punctuation, which is adding expression, and with the right breath control, some sentences you're breaking at the third word with a comma, some sentences you're taking all the way after the eighth word to a full stop or an exclamation mark, that is adding your expression. And with the right tone, the throw of voice, the strength of voice, the quality of voice, guess what? It will help us increase our speech flow influence. The fourth very important aspect is diction. Many of us don't understand diction. Diction is a technical word which means enunciation. Now, enunciation is very, very simple to understand when we put stress on the right words to emphasize meaning. Now, if you would have, understood that right now also when I'm talking, I'm trying to put emphasis on the right words. A lot of public speakers manage to put emphasis on the wrong words, and that's what we're going to correct today. Which are the words which are not important in your speech? So when you're talking to your clients, very importantly, if you land up putting stress on the wrong words, guess what? It actually is influencing them in a wrong direction. So if you want to navigate a favorable direction for yourself, for your business deal, for your pitch, or maybe a decision that you want from your client, what you need to do? You need to actually make sure that your diction, the emphasis at the right word, at the right pause is what is going to make a lot of difference. So quickly, 4 areas of speech flow influences: punctuation, tone, intonation, diction. Remember a simple rule, I also had shared it on the previous slide, that amplified speech is amplified articulation. So bigger the speech volume, if you're using a microphone, you need to go big with your body language. If you do not have a microphone, you're in a boardroom, you're on a client call. So I'm using my desktop screen space to limit my body language. Some people, they don't use body language a lot, at all, in fact. Some public speakers actually limit themselves to completely, keeping themselves in attention position even when they are on an online virtual session. We need to avoid that. Use your hands, use your body language to explain a point by stressing at the right point in the sentence. So with this, what I did was I actually created some power speeches, and these speeches are what we are going to hear one by one. I just hope all of your connectivity can support this. If there's any issue, I can obviously share these speeches after the session also. I can have Swati ma'am share it on WhatsApp with all of you. but please let us know by typing into the chat window if it is clear. I'll play one audio clip at a time. I want you to hear it, and then we can, unmute ourselves and start a little bit of a discussion here where we identify the voice, whose voice it is, and at the same time, we start identifying the intonation, the punctuation, the diction, and the tone of every speaker. Now, having said that, as a public speaker myself for so long, I realized that everybody looks towards Western leaders. And therefore, it was important for me to pick Indian leaders who actually have made a global name in terms of public speaking. And there's lots to learn from them. I learned from them, and I'm hoping that what I've learned from them, you will also be able to learn. And after this, once we've understood and we've learned from each of these voice clips, I had shared an unseen passage comprehension to all of you. We're going to take a few minutes and we are going to just choose the top few lines that we can use to punctuate ourselves. So as per your own style, add the punctuations, add the expressions, and one by one in this meeting session, we will go around the room. And I would like to hear your style delivering to me, and I'll share live inputs, insights of how you can improve in your areas of speech flow influences. That will give you an immense input on and probably, instant key takeaways on what you need to do better, because all of us are blessed genetically with different, voice types, voice pitches. We need to pace up, pace down. We need to, do more modulation, or we need to do more tone. That is something that we are going to learn today. So allow me to share this, and I'm going to start with the first one. It's very simple. No marks here for guessing. It is Mr. Amitabh Bachchan. So let's listen to this, and please just let us know if you're having any difficulty in the chat window. Just type.
आप सभी को मेरा प्यार भरा नमस्कार, ढेर सारी दुआएं, बहुत सारा आशीर्वाद, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आपका। प्यारे दोस्तों, जब मुझे यहाँ आकर आप सबको संबोधित करने का अवसर प्राप्त हुआ, तब मुझे यह एहसास हुआ कि ये जिम्मेदारी कितनी अहम और कितनी कठिन है। मेरे टीचर्स से और बड़ों से जो मैंने सीखा, उसने मेरे दिल और दिमाग पर एक गहरा असर छोड़ा। उनकी दी हुई सीख मुझे आज आप सबके सामने खड़े होने का योग बना रही है। इसके लिए मैं उन सबको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूं। इसलिए वहां बैठे सभी गुरुजनों को, टीचर्स को मैं प्रणाम करता हूं। देखिए, मैं कोई ज्ञानी नहीं हूं, पर ज्ञान का प्रेमी जरूर हूं। मैं कोई साइंटिस्ट नहीं हूं, पर लाइफ में एक्सपेरिमेंट जरूर करना हूं और उससे सीखता भी हूं। मेरे विचार एप्रीहेंशन से नहीं, ऑब्जर्वेशन से बनते। I only have observations to learn from. शिक्षा का महत्व मैंने बचपन से ही देखा है। मेरे माता पिता का मानना था कि ज्ञान वो इन्वेस्टमेंट है जिसका डिविडेंड यानी मुनाफा जीवन के अंत तक मिलता रहता है। बड़े बड़े गुरुजनों, साहित्यकारों का हमारे घर में आना जाना हुआ करता था। उन्हीं के बीच बैठकर उनसे बहुत कुछ सीखने का मुझे सौभाग्य भी प्राप्त हुआ। मैं ऐसा मानता हूं कि एक सामान्य जिंदगी जीने के लिए इंसान को रोटी, कपड़ा और मकान के अलावा अगर किसी चीज की सबसे ज्यादा जरूरत होती है तो वो है शिक्षा, एजुकेशन। आपके पास यदि धन है तो आप उसे गोल्ड में कन्वर्ट कर सकते हैं। धन हो या सोना, दोनों के कम होने का या खो जाने का डर हो सकता है, पर यही धन को अगर हम नॉलेज में कन्वर्ट करते हैं तो वो कभी कम नहीं होगा और ना ही उसकी चोरी हो सकती है।
So I hope it was loud and clear to everybody. It is my first endeavor in an online session format to share this with all of you. Any issues with anybody to hear the sound? This is the time to let me know. Either show yourself or otherwise just type in the chat window and we will know that you're having some technical difficulties. Hearing this voice clip. Now, again, it is a myth that public speakers need to always address in English. Yes, English is our first preferred language to, in the business world, in the Indian corporate landscape. But we also need to understand that as a public speaker, you can be vernacular, you can choose a vernacular medium, you can also, choose whatever language you want to convey the message in, or influence the perceptions in, but that has to be flawless and that has to still follow the guidelines of speech flow influences. I've just come back to this slide because I know Avnish wanted to know again that what is the highlight or the difference between intonation and tone. So Avnish, using Mr. Amitabh Bachchan's example, I'm going to highlight the difference once again. Now, tone and intonation. Let me begin with these two aspects. Intonation is actually the rise and fall of voice. As you saw, that there is modulation of voice that every public speaker has. And I'm going to be sharing 3 more voice clips of the people that I think are good orators. So intonation is the rise and fall. It is a technical word of a very commonly used understanding that everybody says, please improve your modulation. Are aapka modulation of voice better ho sakta hai. So modulation of voice jo log bolte hain, that is nothing but intonation. Now these words, I will also request all of you to add to your vocabulary. If ever you want to compliment your senior, your client, use these words so that they know that you are a speaker yourself. It gives an insight that you can use these technical words and not just layman terms. It will make you stand apart, right? Tone is a simple formula, how I remember it, and you can also remember it. What is tone? We use that all the time in our English language, conveying it to our family. Ki are aapki tone theek kariye. आप कैसे टोन में मुझसे बात कर रहे हैं? We do that all the time. But what is tone? So tone, as per me, is defined as a formula of PQS. P for power of voice. When you say power of voice, is the throw of voice. Q is the quality of voice, and S is the strength of voice. So the power, the quality, and the strength. When I say strength of voice, I'm sure we all have seen those public speakers whose voice quivers or shivers a little bit when they come to the mic or they come in a boardroom. Usually, when you're talking to them one-on-one, they are very good conversationalists, but the moment you put them in a spot in front of a team, their voice volume goes low, their voice shivers a little bit. It is because of nervousness, it is because of anxiety, but the strength of voice goes down. So again, as team leaders, as influencers in your own industries, learn these things because you can in turn help your own organization, your own teams, your own clients to become a better version of themselves, because now you will be aware. Punctuation, quick recap, are the commas and the full stops which help you put expression in a sentence, very important, and also helps you take a break for your breath control. As a public speaker, we need to take the pauses at the right time, because if you do not do that, then the meaning of what you're trying to say is completely distorted. Diction is enunciation. One of you in your introduction said that public speaking is important to me because I want to be a more emphatic speaker. Now, emphatic word, in my opinion, is coming from emphasis. We are putting right emphasis at the right word. Now, if I were not to do that, imagine if, like right now I said, right emphasis at the right word. I'm putting a lot of emphasis and enunciating the word right. Imagine if I were to reverse it. Emphasis on the right word, the entire meaning gets distorted. So it is very important to have your pronunciation and enunciation. So in fact, one of them even asked me that, ma'am, Uday asked me that wrong pronunciation comes under which segment? So pronunciation is a part of diction, Uday. Enunciation, pronunciation are a part of diction. Intonation, punctuation, tone. I hope it is clear to everybody. And if it, perfect. So if at any point in time you want again, some clarity, I'll be happy to, repeat it. Now coming back to Mr. Amitabh Bachchan's voice. In my opinion, as a power speech giver, he's one of the iconic public speakers of India. Kaun Banega Karodpati, we all have seen. So whether it is command over English or Hindi, or for that matter, even Urdu, he is very good because of his father, Shri Harivansh Rai Bachchanji. Now, if you were to analyze his voice is a very heavy kind of voice. His pitch is low. His punctuation is actually quite a lot. If you saw that he actually was punctuating and taking pauses after a few words where people were giving him a lot of round of applause. So as a speaker, let me tell you this, that we even influence the round of applauses without asking for it. Because the moment you create a punchline, the audience automatically, non-verbally gets the signal that it's a punchline. We got inspired with this punchline, hence we are going to give a round of applause. So punctuation is something that Mr. Bachchan believes in beautifully. Now tone, his power, his strength, and his quality of voice. If I'd like to, share with you that when we talk about voice types, there are many distinctions in that, but I'm going to stick to 4 major voice types. For men, or rather for males, 2 voice types, and for women, 2 voice types, right? So now for women, soprano, which is a high-pitched voice, it's called soprano voice type. Alto, which is a low-pitched voice, which is a heavier pitch voice. And for men, or for the males, it is tenor, which is a high-pitched voice. For example, Sachin Tendulkar, we all have heard him, right? But he is a high-pitched voice. And Mr. Bachchan or Mr. Anand Mahindra, who have a heavier voice. I'm using these names and examples so that you are immediately able to relate to what is a high-pitched voice, what is a low-pitched voice. So bass is when men have a heavy voice, that there's a lot of bass in his voice. Some men who have a very heavy voice, we also give them the compliment of baritone, that you have a great baritone. And please, my request to all of you, do not give that compliment to the ladies, because ladies never have a baritone. There are some people who've given me compliment that I have a baritone, but it is officially incorrect. So once again, I'm going to repeat it for you. For women, soprano. If you've seen in a lot of movies, opera singers who are singing at a very loud, high pitch, that is soprano. Alto, when women have a heavy voice. Tenor, when men have a high pitch voice. And bass, when men have a very heavy voice. And if it's a really, really heavy voice, like a lot of country music singers back in the days have a baritone voice. So if we remember this, we need to understand that Mr. Amitabh Bachchan has a very bass voice. He has a baritone voice. So he takes advantage of his voice type, his pitch, his power, his strength, his quality, his punctuation, diction, his pronunciation, and his enunciation are perfect. But guess what? He's not good with intonation. If you notice Mr. Amitabh Bachchan's speech, he does not do a lot of rise and fall. So as a public speaker, you will understand, and now when you hear people speak, there are many YouTube videos available. You will be able to pinpoint what is good in a speaker and what is it that a speaker is hiding. So each speaker has strengths and each speaker has improvement areas. And why I'm sharing all of this with you is that we don't have to be perfectionists. We need to make sure that we understand what are our improvement areas and what are our strengths. So if you think you have a strength of punctuation, build on it. If you think you have a strength on diction, build on it. What happens is a lot of my mentees who come to me for one-on-one sessions, they want to catch all of it together. But remember, it's a 3 V's. It's a package of a public speaker that is going to help you influence opinions, influence clients, impact your customers, make you be remembered as a public speaker. Online, offline, it doesn't matter. So that's why Mr. Amitabh Bachchan does not have good intonation, but he has excellent punctuation. A lot of expressions he adds because obviously he's from the dramatic world. Let me take you through another voice type, and you'll understand with 3 more examples. Pay attention to this.
As the BSR conference has become not just one of the premier business sustainability events, but one of the most premier business conferences, period. So it's an honor to be here today and to speak to all of you. We're here, of course, to talk about some very important and frankly heavy topics: sustainability, transformation, transparency, the future of business, the nature of capitalism. So I thought I'd start my remarks this way in the most solemn and appropriate way possible with a cartoon. And if you look at this cartoon, this is one that appeared in the issue of the New Yorker a couple of years ago, and it sums up the view that many people hold about capitalism. Yes, the planet got destroyed, but for a beautiful moment in time, we created a lot of value for shareholders. Tattered suit, post-apocalyptic city. As you can see, not so.
So let me throw it out. Now let me see how many of you can guess whose voice it is. Why don't you type her name?
Indra Nui.
Why don't you type her? Yes, I did hear somebody prompted. Absolutely right. Indra Nui. Exactly. She is one of the iconic women leaders in the Indian business corporate world. Before continuing with Indra Nui, Avnish is saying that regarding the feedback, Avnish and everybody, yes, soon after these voice clips, we're going to do those unseen passage few lines, and I'm going to be giving feedback to each one of you, which is going to be very constructive and understanding what are the improvement areas. That's why I'm going through the power speeches right now. Coming back to Indra Nui. Now, Indra Nui, one of the iconic women business leaders. I mean, she has a very conversational style. Now, one thing which I want you to note as a distinction between the two speakers, Mr. Amitabh Bachchan, the space or the time lag between 2 words or the pause between 2 words, technically I call it biting the edges of the words. So if you see or if you note Mr. Amitabh Bachchan, he bites the edges of his words, thereby creating a distinction between one word and the other. There's a distinct line or pause between them. Whereas Indra Nui makes it a very blended style. I call it the blended or the conversational style. For example, right now I'm talking to you and this is a very blended and a conversation style. Whereas I can also create distinct pauses in a speech or as a speaker style. And if you notice, I'm biting the edges of my word, making it very clear and creating a distinction between 2 words. So depending on how well you are as a speaker, what is your style, this also adds to your persona and the 3 V's that we talk about, making you an emphatic public speaker. It is a huge speech flow influencer as a speaker. Like what I do, I customize it depending on which environment, which scenario, which client. I do a lot of research about before presenting to the client. And if I have some online videos, because if a client talks fast, I make sure that I pace up and I have a conversation and blended approach. Meenal, you pointed out very well that today we are living in a world of first 30 seconds attention grab. It doesn't matter whether you're with your teams, whether you're in a hospital, whether you're in a manufacturing industry. If you cannot get attention of your client, your subordinates, your colleagues, your seniors in the first 30 seconds, or we can also call it an elevator pitch. So when I hire employees, I actually use that as a forum to pitch to my employees, An elevator pitch, as you know where the name comes from, it takes on an average 3 minutes to an elevator to kind of, travel in a building to any floor. And in that elevator, as startup founders, if your pitch makes sense to the investor, you were successful. Now that concept has come into all the business scenarios, especially if you are representing business development, marketing, sales, customer experience, or you're directly in touch with all your clients, such as healthcare or maybe defense, where you're directly in touch with all the lives and you're influencing lives and their families. So we need to understand that conversational or blended style versus biting the edges of your words, all of this makes a lot of impact and a lot of difference between how your style develops. This can also add to the values of your essentials of speech flow influencers and help you improve strengths. I'm going to move on to the next one. I hope these examples are helping you. Listen to the next clip.
In educational institutions, in our sports organizations, in our industry, amongst labor, amongst the law and order contingents, there is a shortage of leadership. I do not know whether leaders are born or leaders are made. There is a school of thought which says leaders are born. Father, we have a population of 780 million people, and we procreate at the rate of one Australia every year. And yet, there is a shortage of leadership. So if those of you who think that leaders are born, and you contribute to that theory, may I suggest you throw away all Planned Parenthood, let yourselves go.
Now, this is going to be a tough one for all of you. Type in who has recognized the voice. No, Avnish, it is not Nehru. Anybody else? Anybody recognizes this voice?
Obama.
No, this is not Obama. I told you these are all power speeches from Indians that I have put together. Dr. Kalam, no Uday, Pradeep. Vajpayee, वो तो इतना धीरे बोलेंगे, उनके pauses इतने सारे हैं कि that would have been identifiable. Let me break this to you. So this is not Anand Mahindra. This is General Sam Manekshaw. Now, those of you who live in Pune, you must have seen, Manekshaw Marg and roads and monuments being named after him. And General Sam Manekshaw, in fact, we have Colonel Anupam sir. Sir, why don't you share a little about General Sam Manekshaw, about his legacy? Just a little so that everybody knows. One second, sir.
G. Manekshaw. And he was a person that the World Army rarely breed. A person par excellence, a person who always stood by the decisions that he took, a person who always took the blame on himself and passed on the credit to the subordinates. His control over the language was far, far too superior. He could influence people with the language that he spoke. And depending upon the audience, he would modulate his voice, he would pitch it and modify the tone so that the people, if he's talking to men, He knew they need a little longer pause for them to understand what the general's saying. If he's talking to officers, he was more fluent and with lesser pauses, but he would emphasize in clear, very clear words and pitch and the tone, and his diction was superior to any general that I've ever seen. I heard him time and again when I was doing my staff college. He covered the non-military aspects of 1971 war with us over 3 days. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for sharing with all of us, because I'm sure not many people are aware of General Sam Manekshaw. What I tried to do was bring in, our speeches from, again, across industries. It was important for me that I started with the Bollywood celebrity because everybody is aware of Mr. Bachchan. We went to Indra Nooyi. Now, Indra Nooyi had a very unique style of conversational and blending style of talking, right? Her intonation was fantastic. While her punctuation was also great, but she trumps her speeches with intonation. If you see the rise and fall of Indra Nooyi's voice is very different. She has a high-pitched voice, which is towards soprano, not a very heavy voice. So what happens, women with a little high-pitched voice, because it becomes a little shrill, you need to trump your voice with more rise and falls. So you need to do more modulation of voice, more intonation in your voice. Diction is great because she was stressing when she was talking about capitalism. Now, if we have to take all those learnings and apply it to General Sam Manekshaw, a very decorated Indian general who actually motivated teams and teams. He had an amazing punctuation. His diction was great because in army, it is very important to enunciate. In army, his diction actually was trumping even Mr. Bachchan and Miss Indra Nooyi, because that's the kind of speakership that you need to develop when you're talking to maybe 1,000 or 10,000 men, especially in times of war. Now, his intonation was again not as high as Indra Nooyi. If you notice, his voice was not bass, it was actually, his voice was towards the tenor side, which means it was a little high pitched, but he was trumping it with his diction. And if you notice, just like Mr. Amitabh Bachchan, he was also biting the edges of his words. He did not have a very blended or a conversational style. Now, these are unique ways of understanding different people and how they have built upon their strengths to become global influencers, right? Now, let's move on to my last voice. And again, from a very different industry. And let's see if you can guess. I'm going to play the audio clip. And as and when you're able to guess, please type in the name of the person. So all the best to all of you. And focus, because this person is a very complicated orator. And he is one of the only orators who's actually using all the 4 areas of speech flow influence to his advantage. I really look up to him when it comes only to public speaking, no other skill per se. So I play this.
Gentlemen, ladies of the House, I, standing here with 8 minutes in my hands and this venerable and rather magnificent institution, I was going to assure you that I belong to the Henry VIII School of Public Speaking. That as Henry VIII said to his wives, I shall not keep you long. But now finding myself the 7th speaker out of 8 in what must already seem a rather long evening to you, I rather feel like Henry VIII's last wife. I more or less know what's expected of me, but I'm not sure how to do it any differently. But perhaps what I should do is really try and pay attention to the arguments that were advanced by the opposition today. We had, for example, Sir Richard Oswald suggesting, challenging the very idea that it could be argued that the economic situation of the colonies was actually worsened by the experience of British colonialism. Well, I stand to offer you the Indian example, Sir Richard. India's share of the world economy when Britain arrived on its shores was 23%. By the time the British left, it was down to below 4%. Why? Simply because India had been governed for the benefit of Britain. In Britain's rise for 200 years was financed by its depredations in India. In fact, Britain's industrial revolution was actually premised upon the deindustrialization of India.
Absolutely. And I'm glad to see so much of participation. You're absolutely right. This is Dr. Shashi Tharoor, one of the iconic public speakers. Like I said, I look up to him in terms of oratory. None of the political opinions I'm talking about here. So we are focusing on the public speaking, skill here. And he very beautifully, with a very high pace of talk, he bites as well as blends. So if you notice that in his entire speech, and the speech he delivered at the House of Commons in London, and it's only him who can actually imbibe a sense of humor with so many stalwarts from the parliament there in UK and get away with it. As a public speaker, involving a sense of humor is great, but you need to have a command over it. And I advise to a lot of my mentees that either use statistics in your speaker session or use humor. But humor you indulge, while it may sound easy to incorporate in your speech, but you indulge in it only if you can flow with it in terms of your tonality during your speech, because it's all about the delivery. So stay away from humor if you cannot. But Dr. Shashi Tharoor is, I would say, the best of the speakers of the voice samples and the case studies of power speeches that I shared with you. Punctuation, spot on, lots of expression, tone, power, quality, strength. Again, his voice pitch, I would say, is neither too high nor too bass. It's somewhere in the middle, which gives him an advantage. Intonation, the rise and fall, he did it beautifully. There was no particular pattern. He was keeping some shorter treps, some longer, crests. That makes a public speaker very beautiful and very, very inspiring to hear. And diction, stress at the right words, pause at the right time, all of this together, along with an emphatic visual and a body language appeal, kinesics, as well as good vocabulary. I think that Dr. Shashi Tharoor has worked years and years to get all of them together. Again, he's done it. I would like to consider that I am, probably inching towards also doing it if I've managed to inspire all of you so long in the session. And so can each one of you. So now what we are going to do is, based on these areas, I had shared a document with you. If you all can, keep the document ready. It is an unseen passage. And what I did was I created content which is relevant to today's times. If you can, allow me to also share that document with you. There you go. I hope it is visible to all of you. And this is the same document that was shared with all of you on email, along with the presentation deck that we covered in the last masterclass. Now, let me just make this a little bigger as well. There you go. Right. So here, yes, absolutely, Avnish. The punctuation marks have been removed to make it difficult, because this is where I'm going to request all of you to take a minute. The document flows into 2 pages so that there's enough content for everybody. I will request you, when you are reading it, please add your punctuations. Read it in your mind. In your mind, visualize it as if you are delivering it as a speaker. And then what we'll do is we'll go around the meeting room, and I'll be happy to share some insights. In fact, I will encourage everybody to, share insights, type it in the window. And I would love to give you, on the 4 parameters, the areas where you can actually build upon, which seems to be your strength. So that would be a great key takeaway for you with a live demo, customer input to you in this session. One word, if you don't already know. So I'm going to please add this word, which is missing from the document. Please add it in your document if you have a printout or if you have it on your laptops. I will request you to just go through the first page or second page, choose what kind of, the content that you want to begin and end with. Let it be 3 to 4 lines. Begin with a sentence and end somewhere. Use the punctuations. This is all related to the, tough times that we are facing today with COVID-19. This is from the healthcare industry. So I'm guessing that Dr. Manoj, you will be very happy because you've been talking about this to your colleagues all day. So for everybody else, please use punctuations, and whoever is ready, please start with you, unmute yourself, and you can deliver the first few lines, 3 to 4 lines, and I'll be happy to assist and give you my inputs so that we can understand what areas you can improve. I didn't want to make this for you guys, so just take a minute. Some of you can even take page 2 so that the content does not become repetitive. Each one of you will have their own punctuations, expressions. Whenever any one of you is ready, we all are ready to go. Shipra, of course. Perfect. So Shipra, why don't you start?
Hi, am I audible?
You can come a little closer to your mic. Are you going to make yourself visible or no?
Hello, am I audible now?
Yes, you're audible and visible. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Sorry, I lost network when you guys were doing the introduction session. Sorry, my name is Shipra. So I'll start the flow practice with this.
Thank you for introducing yourself. Please share your years of experience and the industry you come from.
So my name is Shipra Sahu, and I have 10 plus years of work ex in different industry, from admin and operations. And I started my events company last year. So that has been with me for a year plus now.
Excellent. I think in the event management industry, you have to talk a lot and address teams, and it's all about, collaborative efforts. So
absolutely. And they just want you to be there so that, because the first confidence that they gain is out of the way you talk and you with them.
Super.
So yeah.
So we are ready whenever you are. The first 3-4 lines, wherever you end with a full stop, is when we are going to take a pause, and I'll be happy to share feedback.
Okay, so I'll start.
Yes.
If you don't know already, now you will know soon. Know someone who has been ill with COVID-19 and survived. They will be our friends, our family, our neighbors, and our colleagues. History will be judge us by the way we treat them. So I'll stop here.
Yes, sure. So this is where I'm going to put a full stop. This is where Shipra covered till. Shipra, what do you think are your areas of improvement? Let's start with self-analysis and evaluation.
So I do get conscious because I knew everybody was watching me.
Okay. All right.
So that's when I just went, and then I was like, okay, it doesn't matter. I have to do this. So yeah, that's one thing is there, and hence I'm in the class to fix that.
Right. So in fact, I'm glad you highlighted that, and I must assure everybody that this is a very confidential meeting, and none of it is going to be shared online. All my sessions, whether it's one-on-one bespoke sessions or these masterclasses, especially where you all are sharing your improvement areas and taking feedback from me, it is customized to each one of us. So don't worry about it. It is important why I said switch on your video, because when you need to feel, because as a speaker, when you're talking to me, and your industry, you talk to your teams, your clients. Every event is a new pitch, right? So when you're talking, everybody will be noticing you, right? From your expressions to your body language to how you're delivering it. And maybe that's why that level of consciousness was there and you fumbled at two places.
Yeah.
So we need to eliminate that, right? Visual is a very important 3 V's. Remember, visual appeal is 58% of how you are as a speaker is the visual appeal. And it is an important component along with your speech flow influencer of the vocal appeal. Now, in my opinion, if I had to give you some direct inputs, we can work better in the intonation. That is the rise and fall. And I noticed that you kept it very safe by biting the edges of your words. You didn't experiment like Indra Nui or Dr. Shashi Tharoor, the conversational or the blended style. So, but I think you have a good command over language where you can. So if you were to redo the entire thing, where there are some parts of the sentences which are very simple, right? Try and rather than pausing after every 3 words or 4 words, try and pause after, let's say, 5, 6 words. So sometimes you're biting the edges of your words, you do 3 words at a time. And sometimes you are taking it conversational. So for example, if you don't already know, you will soon know someone who has been ill with COVID-19 and survived. You know, something like that, where you're pausing after 2 words, adding expression. Now, COVID-19 needs a lot of diction and stress. We're talking about, unfortunately, the virus here, right? So do you want to redo with these inputs the first line? Give us a variation of pacing up in a blended style versus biting some words and add more expression. You need to unmute yourself.
Oh, sorry. I can definitely try that.
Please go ahead.
If you don't already know, you will soon know someone who will be ill with COVID-19.
Okay. So,
is it better?
It is much better. It is stronger. Your strength of voice is better. But what you need to do is some parts of the sentence, try and pick up pace. Make it conversation. You're still playing it very safe. So in my opinion, your improvement areas are, I would say, intonation, which is the rise and fall. And the second aspect would be punctuation.
Okay.
If you put punctuation at the right places, and that is my request to all of you, even if you're going on a client meeting on a virtual call, you have your pointers ready. As a visual aid, you're keeping either a presentation deck or a pointer system in a cue card or on your diary. Make sure that you are highlighting the words where you need more stress. You are putting comma in a certain place where you need that break to catch your breath. Because especially when people are hearing you on the headphone, they need to be influenced and impacted when you are saying something. It doesn't matter what the topic is, right? Thank you, Shipra, for contributing. Who's going in next? Uday is asking, under which segment does wrong pronunciation fall?
Unfortunately.
Oh, yes, of course. Yes, Mr. Seth, thank you for volunteering.
Yeah, I'll be speaking the next para.
Sure.
Unfortunately, as my research makes it clear, stigma has exacerbated the suffering from every major infectious disease epidemic in our history. And it will certainly play a role in the current COVID-19 pandemic stigma.
Okay. So, right at the onset, Mr. Seth, because you broke the 2 words, so disease, epidemic are supposed to be said together.
Correct.
Change the whole meaning, right? So, and we need to work a little more on punctuation. So again, guys, if you began very well, you said unfortunately, and then you paused, which had a comma there. Great. As my research makes it clear, and it's absolutely fine as a speaker to add some words which make your speech more comfortable. Unfortunately, as my research makes it clear, Stigma has exacerbated the suffering from every major infectious disease epidemic. So the next pause comes after epidemic. And that's where you'll be able to do a little bit of a breath control. So if I have to give my inputs to you, Mr. Seth, I would say that you need to, your intonation is great. Your punctuation is great because you add expression. But you need to work harder on diction, which is stressing on the right words. Because when we shared stigma, we elongated the ah. But stigma is not really. Stigma is a negative word. So in your speech, whenever you have a negative word, many times in business meetings, I've seen people use but, and they isolate the but when they're talking. And but, however, impossible, these are all negative words. So when you're talking to your teams, when you're talking to your clients, even when you're trying to, pitch or do a negotiation deal, make sure that you do not force or enunciate on the negative words. It will always work better in your favor. So diction is the area where I will recommend for you, Mr. Seth. And that is the place, if you work a little more on that front, I think sky's the limit for you.
Should I try next?
Yeah, sure. Okay, Pradeep, I'll just hold you a little bit there because we have a request from Avnish. He wanted
Oh yeah, okay, sure, let him go, please. I'll practice some more.
Sure. So Avnish, you're on. Please give us your live take on this.
Thank you. I'll possibly read the next 2 lines.
Sure.
Stigma is an evolutionary response where we are hardwired to physically distance ourselves from others who could infect us. We have an entire suite of evolved reactions called parasite avoidance to prevent us from maintaining contact with others who may carry communicable diseases. These reactions are what make us feel disgusted by signs of sicknesses such as vomiting or skin lesions.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Avnish, for that wonderful take. Again, I see that you have a great command over language, but you're playing it very safe, right? So I will recommend that rather than just biting every edge of your word and going it very safe, see, those of you who have a decent command over language as a public speaker, you can really add that variation of biting the words in some sentences and going the blended way. So some parts of your sentence that you can take in a very conversational style, that will make you get a little more impact in your delivery. Otherwise, what happens? The entire tone becomes a little monotonous, right? We don't want to flatline it. So my improvement areas for you would be to experiment in the pace of talk with blended learning, blended delivery, conversational delivery versus the biting the edges, the pace of talk, as well as your diction is very good. I would say your punctuation is very good, but you need to work a little more on your tone. Now, when I say tone, PQS, power, quality, strength. You don't have a very heavy baritone or a bass voice, but you neither have a very high shrill voice. The best way, and this is an input for all of you, my dear friends, if you want to improve your voice quality, I'm going to share 2 exercises with all of you, and please note them down and do it 5 to 10 minutes on a daily basis. Over the years, you'll see that you've improved your voice quality. Because like guitars, we tighten the strings, we need to tighten our vocal cords. The first exercise is QEQR. QEQR. What I'm going to do is I'm also going to write, these are just simple 4 alphabets. I'm going to write it here, QEQR, in this sequence. Now, these exercises as public speakers we use, and feel free to share these with your children at home because they will start honing their voice cords and vocal cords right from the start. QEQR, Q, E, Q, E, Q, R. So when you do R, you roll your tongue. When we talk about phonetic sounds of English alphabets, all of them get combined with these muscles. So as a public speaker, we need to open our mouth a little more. That we are taking out the right phonetic sounds. If you notice, every alphabet phoneme is clearly pronounced when I'm talking about it. So for this Q, E, Q, R, if you stretch your muscle, if you make sure that you say this and you hold your breath for the longest time when you're saying Q, so you inhale and you say Q, push your Q out, it really gets your cheek muscles to exercise. If you don't feel the strain, that means you're not doing it right. That is a self technique. So Q, E, when you do E, you're actually expanding your jaws, you're helping yourself taking out that phonetic sound. And Q again, and then R. When you do R, you're rolling your tongue, which is touching your upper palate of your mouth. And that is equally important, especially when you're indulging with clients from overseas who might be Americans, Germans, or from any of the other countries, because some of them keep R phonetic sound as silent, and some of them pronounce R very, very prominently when they're talking, right? So if we have global clients, we need to understand that we need to be very clear in our diction. So Avnish, this exercise will help you build your muscles, right? And the other exercise where you can make your voice a little heavier over the time is humming exercise. A lot of, these spiritual groups, they encourage these humming exercise, right? So all you need to do is inhale and just hum. Now humming, it aligns your chakras in the bodies. There are many key takeaways. It, uses sound vibrations to kind of tighten your voice cords. So that's why this will help improve your power, your quality, and your strength of voice. This will be my input to you. And second request to you, Avnish, would be you need to get a little, experimental with
Sorry to interrupt, Ram here.
Yes.
So, which chakra you recommend to focus?
You have to speak a little louder.
Yeah, just my question is which chakra you are recommending to focus?
Here, so when you do humming exercise, Ram, one of the good advantages is that it aligns your chakras in the body. But why our focus and our objective is to tighten your voice cords. You have voice cords here. So your sound vibrations actually help you make your voice quality better with the sound reverberations, right? So again, I'm not an expert with the body chakras, and that's an entire yoga world. But I do know that there are, we have 5 chakras. If that's not my domain expertise, but you land up, aligning them with a lot of yogasanas as well as vibrations and the sound energies. So if you do that, it has a lot of benefits. It also increases your resonance, and it also helps you kind of make your voice quality better. So, yes.
Got it. Thank you.
Yes, Avnish.
Divya, can I ask you a question at this stage? One of the key challenges that I feel is that I often really pace very fast. Sometimes I think it's because the speed at which I'm thinking is far faster and my tongue is struggling to cope with it. Sometimes it could just be because of anxiety. So either right now or at some stage, would you like to cover what you can do to really maybe calm and therefore just pace it out? Because I feel that when I move faster, possibly my speaking style, whether blending or biting, goes off. And maybe you might want to bite, but you end up blending unintentionally.
Right. So great question, Avnish. And I think this input and insight, what happens is that if you have, the longer you take between your thought process and the pace of your talk, you will start using filler words such as ahs and ems. For example, when you were talking to me right now, in between the filler words came in, right? Because you were thinking and talking. Now, we need to coordinate that pace. And for a lot of speakers, we need to get rid of the filler words. And how we do that? We do that by eliminating the time travel between your neurons to when you're actually giving the words out of your mouth. Right? So you need to pace down. When people are saying that you talk very fast, you need to pace down your talking speed so that your mind can also organize content when you are ready to speak. For example, today after so many years, I have, mastered the art of probably vacillating between biting the edges of the word and conversational or blended style. But nevertheless, I prefer to talk at a certain pace to make sure that my mind and my mouth are in sync. So my request to you is eliminate the filler words automatically by pacing down of your talk. Now, when I say pacing down, many people misconstrue it as low volume or absolutely avoiding the blended style. It does not matter. For example, right now, if you see just in the past few conversations that I've had with you where I'm sharing insights, I'm consciously trying to either bite the edges of my words or create a certain kind of a blended style. Having said that, I'm still talking paced down. So I'm not pacing very fast, but I'm using the conversational style versus the biting the edges of your words. So yes, for you, my input would be paced down, but definitely get experimental since you have command over language and work on your tone, which is power, quality, and strength. I hope that helps and you'll start doing the 2 exercises from today onwards only.
Sure. Thank you. And while I think awareness helps, is there also an exercise that consciously allows you to pace down or slow down in terms of your speaking?
So that is something where you need to do a lot of mind control. The key to also that is preparation. Now, what happens is a lot of us public speakers, by the virtue that we've completed 18 years, 20 years in the organization, when we scribble a little bit of a content, we feel that, because of our position, we can deliver it and people will buy it. Which is true. The position does give you a luxury. But do people remember you as an impactful speaker? That is the whole point that we are trying to create here. Now, if you want to be remembered as a speaker, not just because of your position, to be heard, then you need to also prepare. I've seen a lot of people, at your seniority levels who don't prepare. And preparation timing is very different for different people. So if, for example, I'll tell you about myself. If I have that, okay, after, let's say 30 minutes I have to deliver a speech, I will quickly write down my points. I will put the proper order to them. I will read it in my mind and put punctuations. I will put the words where I have to stress. And for a person like me, I need to prepare it probably 10, 15 times. I have to read it in my mind, sometimes even in front of the mirror, to deliver it absolutely on point. Similarly, I've had, when I do one-on-one mentoring sessions, I've seen candidates who are faster than me. So their preparation, they have photostat memory, right? So their preparation takes probably 2 efforts of going through it, and they record the punctuations and everything, and they're able to deliver faster. So depending on your learning speed, your learning pace is actually directly proportional to your pace of talking. The more familiar you are to your content, the more effortless you will sound as a speaker and be able to experiment as a conversational versus a biting the edges of the word style. And I'll be happy to, take on some one-on-one sessions if you would like. Please do connect with me offline, and then we can schedule a few sessions only dedicated to, your pacing down. I think with your kind of learning abilities, 3 sessions only will help you reach the mark where you have to.
Yeah, Dr. Divya, a little question before Pradeep can start. Please let us know the different styles to be chosen when we are actually reading something or we are talking impromptu. Because many a times it happens we are given a couple of pages to speak, and that doesn't give you any time. So a different style to be chosen when we are reading and when we are speaking on a prepared matter or on our own.
Right. So, Mr. Seth, it's a great question. owing to current times, right, where we don't have, gone are the days when we had an ability to clear a distinction between our professional self and our personal self. Today, we don't have time. Today, everything has become about blended lifestyle, blended learning approach. And we are one person, right? There are no two personalities or two versions of us which we take to the work and we keep it at home. So in my opinion, this is actually a myth that we need different styles to read something and to go off the cuff or extempore about something. And that's exactly my point, that many times, such as, you know, as senior a person such as yourself, I'm sure your presentation decks and your speeches are written by your staff and they hand it over to you and you have to deliver it on point. At that point in time also, my request to you is that while your staff has written and handed over a script to you, please punctuate it, because your breathing control is very different from your staff's. So if you want to deliver it, whether you are impromptu, even if you want to go, make sure that at your nobody's going to rush you into delivering. If they say, listen, Mr. Seth, you have to deliver, tell them, take 5 minutes to just put your thoughts together. So that 5 minutes of time, whether you have a ready script given to you by somebody else or whether you have put together your thoughts on the spot, you have to go through these drills, which I'm requesting all of you as speakers to do. You have to put the punctuations as per your breath style, your breathing control, because your expression will come accordingly. You have to put the underline the places where you need to put stuff. If you do all of these 4 parameters before you deliver a speech, whether a script on hand, whether not a script on hand, it will make you remembered as a speaker, you know, or an inspirational team leader. Because there's not two versions today, especially when, you know, the online and offline worlds are like combining together. Everybody is, you know, very, very active on social media and professional networks such as LinkedIn. What you say has to be matched with your personality. So the authenticity of a speaker has to come through online, offline, prepared, unprepared, and your unique style and your persona has to be your USP. You have to be remembered that, oh, Mr. Vishal Seth has a phenomenal flair and style. You know, his stresses and his diction is amazing. Dr. Divya Jaitly, her intonation is marvelous. So each one of us can actually hone a strength and keep it consistent, whether we are, you know, in a virtual world or an offline world. I hope that helps you, you know, understand the relevance of the 4 parameters that I'm constantly stressing to influentials.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Seth. Yes, Pradeep, finally.
So I'll try the next 3 lines.
Yes, please.
Okay, just a moment, please. Okay. There is a moral and a physical component as well. We tend to believe that bad things happen to bad people. Maybe people who have become infected with COVID-19 didn't wash their hands long enough, touched their face too much, or didn't socially distance enough.
Fantastic. A wonderful take on this. You are blessed with a good voice quality and the throw of voice and your tone. My request to you is that work a little more on the intonation. So why don't you give me a little more rise and fall? Right now what's happening is I can map the pattern of your rise and fall. So right now you read only 4 lines, but when you are following the same rise and falls points, then it becomes a little monotonous for your clients or for your teams, right? We need to create that very conscious variation in our rise and fall or the modulation of voice so that that becomes a little more interesting for the people to hear. So if you can just give me a take with a little more rise and fall, just give it, some should be a shorter fall, some should be a longer fall.
Okay. I'll try. I've never tried this before, but I'll try it here. There is a moral and a physical component as well. We tend to believe that bad things happen to bad people. Maybe people who have become infected with COVID-19 didn't wash their hands long enough, touched their face too much, or didn't socially distance enough.
Okay, great. What happened that you enhanced your diction and it came out beautifully.
Yeah.
Now, allow me to give you a little bit of an example of what I'm messing up. How this is technique for everybody, how you can improve your rise and fall. Now, if you know that naturally your voice level is a little towards the higher pitch and not a heavy voice, you have to make a conscious effort to dip down. If you're talking about bad people, you have to make a conscious effort to bring your expression lower. It cannot be at the same level of talking a positive, hopeful word.
Correct, yes.
So if I were to do it, I would say there is a moral as well as physical component as well. We tend to believe. So I'm doing, we tend to believe.
Right, yes.
To believe, right? So I flatlined the word belief. I went high on my pitch on 10 and 2 when I came down, right? So we tend to believe that bad things, now bad things, I'm falling with my pitch, that bad things, but I'm using a higher diction. I'm giving it a punch that bad things happen to bad people. I took it lower, but so that my volume does not become extremely low, I added even more diction there.
Thank you so much for this analysis. I'll definitely practice more.
Yes, thank you for participating, and I hope these insights help. And you're anyway a leader in your industry, and I'm sure we would like to see you as a thought leader and as a speaker at so many forums.
Thank you so much, Divya. I'm really honored.
Okay, so moving on. Next, who would like to go on next?
This is Divya here. Can I take it further?
Yes, of course.
Sure. This belief is comforting, helping us believe that we are in the control of our own fate. It tells us that if we do everything right, we won't become infected. Yet, we simply don't live in a just world. We could do everything right. Wash our hands for 60 seconds instead of just 20 and still become infected with COVID-19.
Okay, great attempt, Divya. Thank you so much. I would recommend that you start working on the areas of little bit on the areas on 3 parameters primarily first before we jump to the diction. So I realized that you were stressing on a lot of words, but we don't have to stress on a lot of words all the times to make a point, right? So we need to improve our intonation and we need to also put punctuation at the right places. Right now we are putting too much punctuation. So as a norm, you're pausing after every 3 words. You're putting a comma. We need to make sure that, because what happens, the meaning of the entire paragraph got distorted. So you started very well, but somewhere down the line, the meaning got left behind and you ended with a bang, which is great diction. But if we don't want to lose our meaning, we need to make sure that we need to put more stress on punctuation. That will help you in breath control. Were you running a little out of breath? Because when you were reading, I could make out that it's straining your voice cords because you were using a lot of diction.
Okay. Maybe because all are hearing, so I may be conscious about that.
Yes. And that's what happens, as a public speaker, right now we are touching upon only the speech flow influencers. So imagine if we have to make sure we are looking good, we are presenting well. It's a lot of muscles and skills coordination to be able to impact and inspire as a speaker. But start with these 3 areas. For you, I would say tone, intonation, but punctuation is the key for you. Punctuation will help you even in breath control at the right places so that you don't run out of breath at all.
Okay, thank you for that.
You're most welcome. Great. So, Manoj, are you ready? Do you want to go next?
Yes, I'm ready, but I will take the last lines.
Sure, please.
Hello.
Yes,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. This belief is confronting, helping believe that we are in control of our own fate. It tells us that we do everything right. We won't become infected. Yet we simply don't live in a just world. We could do everything right. wash our hand for 60 seconds instead of just 20 and still become infected with COVID-19.
Good attempt, Dr. Manoj. I will recommend again punctuations for you. We need to put punctuations at the right places, because what's happening is that you started well, but after every 3 words, you're taking kind of a pause. So why I'm sharing these insights customized to everybody is because all of you are leaders in your own organizations, and you can also help other people identify these areas, right? So we're learning from each other. Dr. Manoj, you need to work on intonation, punctuation, breath control. Your diction is good again, like Divya, but punctuation will add more expression. There's lack of expression, which is directly proportional to missing punctuation. If you can work harder on that, I'll be very happy to see that next level of improvement in you.
Right. Yes, I will try my level best.
Sure. Most welcome. Anybody else, or are we all, educated enough with everybody's lessons? Who wants to go next? Sonia, yes, please go next.
So, shall I start? Am I audible?
You're very loud and clear, Sonia. You can take the initial lines.
Okay. If you don't already know, you will soon know someone who has been ill with COVID-19 and survived. They will be our friends, our family, our neighbors, and our colleagues. History will judge us by the way we treat them. Unfortunately, as my research makes clear, stigma exacerbated the suffering from every major infectious disease epidemic in our history.
Thank you, Sonia, for the attempt. We are pausing at the wrong places.
Okay.
Yes, so let me give you, all of you can see my screen. Let me just tell you how, if I had to, use punctuations, and it will give you insights for every script or speaker session that you can utilize this. So I would put something like this. If you don't already know, I'll put a comma here. You will soon know, and I'll put a comma again there. Someone who has been ill with COVID-19, and I'm going to put a comma again here, because it's going to give me a little bit of a pause, and survived.
Okay.
I'm going to put a full stop there, right?
Right.
I'm going to put these as bold. And I'm going to underline COVID-19. So these are my keys. So whenever I have to deliver a speaker session, I always prepare like that. I write it down. I underline it, use it. So when I'm rehearsing in my head, I'm rehearsing with the right punctuation. So now if I have to deliver it, it will come out in the right manner. So Sonia, can you just deliver these 2 lines with the proper, punctuations that I've put for you on screen?
Yes, sure, ma'am. If you don't already know, you will soon know someone who has been ill with COVID-19 and survived.
Much better. I'm sure all of you will agree that the punctuation added the right kind of expression. Now, Sonia, the next aspect for you is, which you need to work on, is modulation of voice. You have high-pitched voice towards soprano. So you have to explore the depths of your voice. You have intonation, the rise and fall. So you have to, if you already are touching the high pitch, then you're going to stay there, right? So for you who have a little high pitched voice, try and start your speaker session at a medium note or a medium pitch or a low pitch, so that it gives you that immense climb towards the high pitch. So you can start with, if you don't already know, because here you're asking the audience, if you don't already know, you will soon know someone who has been ill with COVID-19 and survived. So as the sentence is going further, we are taking it towards our comfort zone, which is the high pitch. So that is a great technique to kind of create that rise and fall, where we consciously start with a out of comfort zone pitch. And as the sentence progresses, the meaning progresses, we take it up. I hope that input helps.
Yes, sure, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
We'll definitely check it out.
Yes, perfect. Thank you. Uday, yes, please go next.
If you don't already know, you will soon know someone who has been ill with COVID-19 and survived. They'll be our friends, our family, our neighbors, and our colleagues. History will judge us by the way we treat them.
Yes. So Uday, what's happening is it was a fantastic attempt, but your intonation, like your modulation, is very cryptic. You know, it's zigzag, 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 exactly same points up, exactly same points down. So punctuation, I'll give you full marks. But for modulation, that is intonation, you need to work harder because you need to. So humming exercise is key for you, where when you hum, and while humming, this is something all of us can do, take your hum towards the high pitch and drop it towards the low pitch. If you run out of breath when you're humming towards the low pitch, guess what? You need to increase that low pitch and that heaviness of your voice. You need to increase that lung capacity, which helps you drop your voice. If you're running out of breath while humming on a high pitch, that means you need to work harder towards taking your voice to the higher spectrum. So intonation is your area. I think diction is good. You're playing it very safe like General Sam Manekshaw by biting the edges of every word. But try and use some words which are conversational. So for example, you are breaking our family, our neighbors, and our colleagues. Now, these are very simple words. We can also alternatively take them in one stride, like they will be our friends, our family, our neighbors, and our colleagues. I took it in a very blended style. Do you want to give it a try, just this statement?
Yeah, sure. They'll be our friends, our family, our neighbors, and our colleagues.
Much better. So if you use this variation of pace in between your regular speech, let's say 70% of your speech can be biting the edges, 30% in between some simple sentences you can take in a conversational style, you will create a lot of interest in the audience, and the audience will never ever get bored because of the rise and fall and difference of pace. Make sense?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, Meenal, we are ready for you.
Okay, here goes. We tend to believe that bad things happen to bad people. Maybe people who have become infected with COVID-19 didn't wash their hands long enough, touch their faces too much, or didn't socially distance enough.
I'm glad you chose that part of the entire passage. Lot of expression, I would say even good intonation, but what I could see more in your voice is diction, enunciation or stressing at some areas. Like Indra Nui, if you remember the voice clip that we heard, she picked some words and she actually laid a lot of stress on that. So what happens is that because your voice quality, just like me, it is somewhere in the middle of the pitch and the voice type, between the high and the low end of the spectrum. We also have the advantage of doing the intonation and the voice modulation. But at the same time, we have to make extra effort in putting stress, right? Putting the diction. So your pronunciations is fantastic, but your enunciation is what we need to work on. So if you can give me the same take with some stresses at the right way, that will really create a drama and a little more,
Okay. Okay, so you want me to stress on a few words?
Yes.
Okay, let me try. We tend to believe that bad things happen to bad people. Maybe people who have become infected with COVID-19 didn't wash their hands long enough, touch their faces too much, or didn't socially distance enough.
Fantastic. Could you hear the difference?
Yeah, I think so. On that socially distanced piece, and I think also the flow. Somehow, in between, I felt that my flow was much better.
Right.
I don't know. Okay.
So diction is where you need to work on. And
okay.
I would pick enunciation.
Okay. What's enunciation means? Where did we go? Is diction. All right. I get your point. Okay.
Press at the right words.
Okay.
No. And also helps us break our pace. So it adds an element like Indra Nui, right, to your speech.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
Exercise that I will recommend is QEQR.
Okay. Okay.
I think your breath control is great, but your muscles could be a little loosened up.
All right.
You could pronounce the phonetic sounds a little more louder, especially.
Okay.
Yeah, so it'll just add more elements of speaker, speaker value.
Okay. Okay. That's a great aspiration, Indra Nui. I'm going to keep that as a benchmark. Thank you.
I couldn't see you right now, so I'm not gonna, give inputs or insights on the visual appeal right now.
Thank you.
Yes, so have we covered all the attendees and participants, or is somebody left? Anybody wants to go next? Or are you happy with all the inputs of the volunteers who have experimented in today's?
Yeah, myself would like to, Ram.
Ram, yes. Please go ahead.
We tend to believe that bad things happen to bad people. Maybe people who have become infected with COVID-19 didn't wash their hands long enough, touched their face too much, or didn't socially distance it enough.
Okay. Ram, why is it that when you're talking about this, your heart is not in it? Are you distracted, or are you like, conscious? Are we all making you conscious?
Yeah, I think so. Let me repeat again.
So this time when you repeat, my request to you is try and open your mouth muscles a little more. Yes?
Okay, okay.
So remember that as a speaker, you need to create more phonetic sounds, like louder, right? So let's be a little loud. Let's be a little more flexible with our mouth muscles. Please go ahead.
Yeah, perfect. We tend to believe that bad things happen to bad people. Maybe people who have become infected with COVID-19 didn't wash their hands long enough, touched their face too much, or didn't socially distance enough.
Much. So Ram, what we need to understand is, and this is something that I've noticed in a lot of my mentees, we tend to put stress on words like that, but. So अभी जब आपने पढ़ा, आपने भी tend to believe that पे बहुत stress दिया. Again, a wrong word to stress, right? So we need to say that we tend to believe, comma, that bad things happen to bad people. ये sentence एक हो सकता है, मगर that के ऊपर हम बिल्कुल भी stress नहीं करेंगे. So these are just helping words that that help you deliver a speech, right? So we need to make sure that we do not pay stress, which will happen when we are putting the right punctuation and the right word in the sentence. So again, stress instead of that is on believe, right? Can you demonstrate that one sentence, the first one, stress at the right word?
Yeah, sure. We tend to believe that bad things happen to bad people.
Much better. Much better. So this is what I will request you, that QEQR, again for you, you need to work really hard in opening up your muscles. As a speaker, like what happens is I'm one person. And even when I'm talking to my teams or my clients, I talk the same way. So it is always a bonus if you are using a lot of your mouth muscles and opening it wider to talk, versus you are, talking as if you're talking to a college friend. That conversational tone doesn't help any longer, especially in the virtual workspace world, even with clients, even with your colleagues, even with your teams. You have to be emphatic. Public speaker means that you need to put emphasis at the right words, and which will happen when you open up your mouth and your cheek muscles, right? So QEQR is very important for you. And I will request you to pay a little more attention to intonation and diction. Surprisingly, tone, PQS is pretty much on point with you. As per your voice quality, your power, your quality and strength is great. What's also happening is your punctuation सही जगह नहीं है, तो वो आपका जो loss of breath है वो हो रहा है towards the end of the sentence. So जहाँ हम सही जगह breaks लेंगे, that will help us not take pauses at the wrong places, and we will not run out of breath. Right? Does that help? I hope you've taken these inputs and you're going to work on them and start QEQR from today only.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome. Yes, Colonel Anupam sir has a question for everybody. Yes, sir. Please go ahead. Sir, you can either type or you can unmute yourself.
Just a second.
Yes, sir, we can hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
How important it is, ma'am, to pitch the content. I'm not talking pitch of the voice. Pitch the content when we are faced by different stages or different forums, like board meeting, a GBM, or a team meet, where we are talking to our subordinates. Thank you.
Right. That's a great question, sir. And I guess you asked this question because as a speaker, you're invited to many organizations and you have to lead teams as a consultant. Now, when we talk about this session, of course, was about speech flow influencers, but I'll touch upon the pitch of the content. In our past masterclass, and the deck has also been emailed to all of you as the learning material. There, we deliver the content in a certain guideline format. So there are very simple 6 guidelines. Now, when you're pitching the content, while speech flow influence is equally important, your content has to be in a format where it piques interest in a boardroom or in an auditorium immediately in the first, I would say, 2 minutes or maybe 1 minute. The attention span of today's people or audience is 1 minute. Now, when you're pitching the content, it needs to be driven with probably statistics or driven with probably a certain kind of content that interests the audience. So in the past workshop, masterclass, we actually learned the rule of WIIFM. What's in it for me? And for those of you who you've joined us new in this masterclass, please note this rule down that for every audience, you always have to plan your content as what's in it for me. What is the key takeaway for an audience to be attending your speaker session? And if you keep that in mind, you will be able to hone your pitch accordingly. So using more emphatic statements, using more positive words in your content pitch is what makes you a better speaker, along with, of course, the pitch of your voice and the better PQS, pitch quality, power, strength. That all together will make you a better speaker and makes you, worthy of remembering by all your audiences. I hope that really helps, in terms of...
Thank you, ma'am. Satisfied. Very well tackled. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. We do have a question coming in here by Naresh. Okay. Okay. So, I think I'm going to, there are some private messages that have reached out to me, and I think I'm going to take them privately and answer them. I know our masterclass today was supposed to be for, 2 hours, and we've already exceeded the time. But it's been a very enriching, session for me, and I hope you all have taken some key insights back to yourself and customized inputs, which was my endeavor. I'm open to any questions if anybody would like to ask at this point. Of course, in a public forum, if there are any private queries, I will address them privately. Yes, Meenal, absolutely. I will encourage everybody to, connect with each other and enhance and learn from each other. Today's been a wonderful session for me. How about I get a little feedback of what your biggest takeaway? Meenal, what?
Yeah, so I just want to say that I've really enjoyed this, and I am in the public space, not as a public speaker. That's an aspiration I hold, but I mean, I do stand in front of smaller forums and I do a lot of business development for the work that I do, etc. But despite that, despite my exposure, I really found your lessons a great Sunday morning well spent. So really kudos to you, and you spoke and you shared from inside. I could tell that. So thank you for that sharing. And I hope to remain in touch.
Connect with me on LinkedIn, and
I'm going to do that right away. May I put my LinkedIn URL here?
Of course, please.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Request to all of you, please share your feedback on LinkedIn so that everybody gets encouraged to attend these masterclasses. And this is just a start. I'll be conducting more masterclasses on topics like leadership, negotiation skills, conflict resolution. Whatever I've learned in 2 decades, I'll be happy to share with you, and if it helps you in your careers, why not? So I will be looking forward to your, feedback on LinkedIn with, of course, tag to me. So tag me there, connect with me and tag me there. Pradeep, may I have feedback from you? You're a
Yeah, no, I just wanted to thank you very much. It was a wonderful session. I think you have this beautiful way of conducting your sessions and delivering your content. Also the in-depth analysis which you've done in the past 2 hours of our different people who have participated. And I feel I've already gained confidence much more confidence in the last 2 hours. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for spending time. I know you're a very busy person and you globetrot, but spending your Sunday away from your family, it means a lot to me. It's a lot of encouragement, and I'll keep it going.
Thank you so much, Divya.
Perfect. Anybody else would like to share their comments or feedback? Yes, Avnish?
Divya, thanks for this session. Frankly, I wouldn't have registered that we have extended by 30 minutes had you not told it. I think it was a great blend of theory and practice, and at the same time group and individual attention. I think one of the things that one seeks when you are getting into something which is extremely skill and behavior based is the whole doubt of whether I would get the rightful attention or will it largely stay skimmed at the surface. I think I found some very sharp pointed feedback and information. And at the same time, I think the group was quite an interesting one. People from different backgrounds, different parts of the world, and absolutely very, very skilled at their job. So obviously we were starting from a very good point, but I was able to pick up lots from the cohort as well. Thanks a lot, and I think we look forward to more such of these sessions.
Wonderful. I think what I'm going to request you, Avnish, is you spoke so candidly from the heart. Meenal, Avnish, I'm going to send you these, feedback clips, just these out of the whole, recording, and you can probably share this on LinkedIn and then tag me. So it will be a good way of increasing your personal brand value as well. And I'd love to, have more people hear what you have to say about this masterclass.
So I'm not sure whether I should be saying it here right now or not, and I also don't know whether you really recollect how our paths crossed. But when I was maybe almost a decade back, when I was a budding brand manager, we had gotten you over for conducting sessions for our brand. Yes, and now possibly if I tell you, you might just be able to go back in history, and I think that's where possibly we got linked. And ever since, everything that you've been doing tends to keep popping up on my feeds, and I kind of look out for it. That was for Johnny Walker, and we had done a couple of sessions which were experiential on ground, and you had anchored the sessions for us. We were obviously looking for people who were extremely sophisticated as an audience, and therefore our anchors obviously had to be as statusful and full of gravitas. So isn't it curious that we find ourselves talking about executive presence and communication back possibly 12 to 13 years later?
You
All
know,
the best.
you just made my Sunday and my 2020 in these tough times. That's really a great feedback. And going back and still finding that value and dedicating your time with me. Thank you so much for, appreciation for not just way back then, but also today, and having glued to my posts and my initiatives. It means a lot, Avnish. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you more and more. Please feel free, all of you guys, to give me feedback how I can improve my sessions. Learning goes both ways. I'll be open to you. Have my email IDs as well. So write to me, connect with me. We can always do one-on-one sessions. Share with your colleagues and your organization. Any way I can contribute, I'll be happy to help. And I look forward to all your feedbacks on LinkedIn. Please tag me. Anybody else who would like to share, or we can probably, close the session. I'm sure everybody's hungry. I can see Dr. Manoj smiling, but I'm gonna, close the session here. It's lunchtime. Thank you once again for participating on a Sunday. I look forward to meeting you all soon. You will keep getting a lot of updates on email, and we'll keep learning from each other. So have a great, great Sunday ahead. Regards to your families, and all the best for your speaker practice sessions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot. All
Thank
the best.
you.
Thank you.
Stay safe,
you.
everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.